The Coke Guide.
The winner of RuPaul's Drag Race is
The name Lazy Susan. Yes. My sweet, sweet Lazy.
I love that name. It's great.
I genuinely forgot how annoying it is when somebody laughs as hard as I laugh at stuff. That's crazy. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to X's for Show. I'm Nico, and you guys can check me out at Nico Action, NicoAction.
And I'm TK. You can find me at TK Elemental.
Which makes me Tori. You can find me online at SM Tori. That's Tori with an I.
Hey everyone, it's Peak Jonah here. You can find me places at Peak Jonah.
And that makes me your producer, KEVO. You can find me at KEVO Really. Make sure to like, subscribe, and comment so we know what you want us to cover in the future, especially if there's anything you'd like us to cover this holiday season. But today we're talking big time finale. Big, exciting win. So obviously I had to break out one of our favorite clips from 2024 and time it, as you all saw, 27 seconds.
You know,
Beautiful.
So it was a prediction all along.
I want to kind of immediately vibe in on this because like one of the things that I'm really walking away from this year of Drag Race with is like, you know, Lavoie losing felt bad. Vibe losing didn't feel bad. Kyron winning felt a little bit like giving it to the super beautiful homecoming queen valedictorian theater lead drum major. For Lazy Susan, it doesn't feel the same, even though they had incredibly similar trajectories. And I'm gonna say it's because Kyron is like twink pretty and Lazy is handsome, lovely, attractive, but not a Gossip Girl character, and unless she's Dorota. So I love Lazy Susan. I think she's amazing, but get it together, TK.
Is that because of Dorota?
Not Dorota.
Is that the maid? Because I've worked with her
maid.
and she's lovely.
She was my
Oh,
favorite
that's
fucking
so wonderful to
character.
She's
hear.
awesome. She's so cool.
Oh, fan favorite. Everyone loves
Yeah.
Dorota.
Dorota, I hardly know her.
Dorota.
We do know her, apparently.
We do.
To Mary Tyler Moore. But so like, okay, Down Under ends, and I'm like, yes, wear that crown. UK ends, and I'm kind of like, I thought you guys sent all your bad people to the penal colony. And so like, I just don't understand why I'm having such a different reaction when anybody we're talking about, any of those four queens that are in this discussion, all could have won, all could have deserved to win, and did deserve to win. It's just there can only be one crown per season unless you're Trinity and
Monet.
Oh no, to me Monet won. Trinity got the extra crown. But
Ooh, hot takes.
but I'm going to be rooting for Trinity on Worst Cooks. I'm going to be rooting for Trinity real hard on Worst Cooks. So I'm just a bigger Monet stan. So, anyway, that's how I'm feeling. How you guys vibing on that?
So I think by the end, it did feel like Lavoie's win. And it wasn't that it was unreasonable that Kyron would win, but it felt like there was a notable gap such that there was a bit of a surprise. It didn't quite feel like you had to do a little mental gymnastics to see why that was the right choice. With Lazy Susan, I mean, she felt like she was the most likely winner of Down Under, and it felt like if Vibe had won, it kind of would have been. It would have been different than if Kyron had won because Vibe doesn't have that. She's gorgeous and young and did whatever the judges told her in a very like. It's not a bad thing to do that. Like it is smart gameplay and it's smart competition. But sometimes seeing a girl, like it can seem a little suck-uppy. It can seem a little like, yeah, I don't have to do, I don't have to figure out how to make you like my thing. I just have to do what you want. And it's a very tough standard to meet because a lot of times they're like, just do what we're telling you to do.
See me in the bedroom.
The judges are like, just do what we're telling you to do, or you'll keep getting the critique that like we're giving you a guide and you're not following it, and then you'll go home. But Vibe, while again, they even point out like Susan's got 3, Vibe's got 2, Mandy has 1, and it's not just who has the most challenge wins, but Lazy Susan also had these incredible runways that are just unforgettable, and I think a lot of us will be thinking about forever, and we're just technically phenomenal. And Vibe had great runways, but it would be difficult to call them memorable. So at the end of the day, it really felt like it was Susan's win. And while I would not have, Vibe was kind of my favorite. I was sort of, and this is what happened with Lavoie too. I was sort of rooting for Vibe. She was the one that I wanted. And at the very end, I was like, no, it's kind of got to be Susan. And so I'm rooting for Susan in that, like, that means the universe makes sense. Similarly, like I didn't love Lavoie. I didn't get her thing. And in that way, I was kind of like, I think I like Kyron and I'm rooting for Kyron. And like kind of weirdly for Marmalade, I was just hoping she would get the wins to justify it. But
Kai?
by the end,
Why would I vote for Kai? Do you know who my father is?
By the end, I was really
Listen
rooting.
here, George.
I wouldn't even say I was rooting for Lavoie. It was the thing of just like, I think the universe makes sense if Lavoie wins. So I'm rooting for the universe to make sense. The universe didn't make sense in UK. The universe made perfect sense in Drag Race Down Under. And so I was perfectly pleased. Also, this is so much better with Michelle than it is with RuPaul, this interview segment.
Yeah.
This is where Ru gets her most insane. Don't ever let this woman learn real therapy words or get a degree in mental health counseling.
Right.
She will ruin lives.
Ru is Regina George doing this, but Michelle is like Joan London.
Miss Norbury, let's, not get too far from the original.
Yes. Good.
And I think a lot of that comes down to, and I kind of said this before, but Ru is, outside of like really specific instances or certain individuals where she's had a little bit more personal and more authentic relationships with outside of the show, outside of, commercialization, outside of everything like that, Michelle is the one who's kind of like on the ground with the queens. I talked about it before, and I know TK knows all about this. Like when Michelle was the host and used to do all of the Battle of the Season tours. Every time there was a Drag Race tour, Michelle was the one like hosting and headlining, and I shouldn't say headlining, but being the one who was with them all the time. So when she talks about like, you guys are my children, you are my girls, I'm your mother, that reads a little bit differently than when Ru says it. Not
You were like way harsh, girl.
Not that Ru can't be their mother, but Michelle really is kind of like that less separation between them, where a lot of queens talk about how they revere Ru, and not that they don't love Michelle, but Michelle is grounded and that they can feel a tangibleness with her. She just looks incredible here. This
brave outfit. She does look phenomenal. This clearly was, she took a risk doing this, and I think it turned out so good.
I just want to say that it's actually a semi-brev outfit because it's a whole lot of good look, which is a music joke because a whole note in the UK is known as a semi-brev. I'll go.
Michelle will get the
A whole
joke.
new note.
I kind of feel So it's really interesting that we're talking about Vibe and versus Lazy Susan, because I loved Vibe. I this whole time I've been like, I wish Vibe could win. It's not going to happen, but I wish it could. I actually spent most of this episode going, is Mandy Moobs about to take this? I was like, is Mandy about to take this? Because I was like, she's bringing it to this challenge. She's her interview with Michelle was very like resonant-y between the two of them. And I was like, yes, I do not know who won Drag Race Down Under 2. But I was like, I don't think we've had like a mother figure fashionista pig in charge before. So I was like, it's a possibility. Yes, TK?
I have to break in here because you mentioned the pig thing. Is Mandy being a pig like a cultural identity that we're sensitive about or something? Because they kept talking about like what like her part in the community and like what she brought to the competition, and the only she's a white twink who is in a throuple and talks about being a pig a lot.
Yeah.
And am I missing something?
No, this is just Alexis Michelle with talent. So I think is what I've gotten from it. I
just want to know. I hope that she has an equally cool cousin as Lisa Loeb. So Alexis Michelle, you are at least, if nothing else, a really good
Alexis Michelle is
it would
also
be Natalie
an
Imbruglia. Natalie Imbruglia would be her cousin.
Alexis Michelle is also an excellent queen. I found her more charming in All Stars than many other people did.
No, I love Alexis Michelle, and I mean, she, as you should, she is the iconic theater queen. Like, and she's so good.
Producer of the show, Alexis Michelle.
That's the one. That's her.
But
Mandy's big identity is very confusing to me.
I feel like this whole pig thing also flew right past me because I have no idea what anyone's talking about. I'm just that gif of Gina on Brooklyn Nine-Nine vibing while chaos is going on in the background.
She's dressed as a pig 3 times, and in this episode referred to herself as a pig about 3 times.
She entered like that too. She
Yeah,
entered with pig.
And, but like she says it like somebody would say, I'm indigenous. And the judges talk about her like community aspect, and I'm like, I don't know, what is it that she is pig an identity in Down Under? I don't.
Did I miss this?
I imagine, my guess is that she's a very sex positive, very sex forward kind of talking about person. So I imagine there might be talking about more so like the kink community, and maybe she's representing aspects of where kink and drag intermix. Because what is a dom but a drag persona?
Yes.
Well, I'm being a little facetious with that. I'm just
I get where you're coming from, and I'm smiling about it. I just
I think what I'm a little like, then like we would definitely kind of be like, your whole thing is fisting. You're the fisting queen. That's sex positive, but like
that's sort of where I'm at with it.
Like, where's the line? Yep.
Yeah. Right, but that
means like stuff me, fill me with cum. It should be flowing out of my face.
Yeah, that's
like,
right.
Piggy is like extreme.
This is why I brought in the Alexis Michelle of it all, because Alexis Michelle in All Stars was very much about the urine side of things. Right. And so so that's sort of what I was taking from this.
Again, flew past me.
And so I was just excited. I really thought Mandy like had this kind of possibly close to the bag, that she was a far more likely to possibly get this than I thought she was going into this week. I really enjoyed it. I thought this was a fantastic finale. I'm glad that as TK said, the universe righted itself. We did not have a particular surprise outside of the fact that like Lazy Susan didn't crush so hard as Lavoie that everyone was shocked that this is how it went. I think this was kind of a delight, and I'm enjoying thinking about the ramifications of what Michelle is looking for in a winning queen, and if that's any different from what RuPaul is looking for in a different queen, or is this the reveal that RuPaul doesn't actually make the decision and Wow Presents picks one of the four themselves?
I have 4 things to add to that because you hit on a bunch of my notes. Number 1, I agree this was a really spectacular finale, except for the fact that it went out of its way to tell us how great Freya was, and then was literally like, but no good reason, goodbye. I do not think she slogged through this episode like some sort of slack-jawed yokel in any regard, so I don't know why they maybe treated it like, and Freya, you're the only one who has to go.
Yeah, I would have done a top 2.
Yes.
It was
Yeah.
it was a little
Because Maria's always chaotic anyway.
This was so stunningly gorgeous and reminded me of Violet Chachki coming out to step down. This was such a gorgeous look. She didn't get enough credit for that, and really couldn't because there was no time. But yeah, they should have done a top 2. It was pretty weird to be like, yes.
And the other thing that it directly made me think about in regard to some of, like, Tori, what you were saying, and sort of where it took me to the next step was that I felt like this finale actually introduced the idea that Michelle is not the next host. I do not think Michelle is the host of season 5 or 6. Like, she could be a 5 and not 6. Because
really,
I think having Isis the whole season and then just come out and give the crown begins the normalization of a previous winner continuing the legacy, specifically because I don't know how many of you follow Michelle extensively, but she has given no less than 4 interviews in the last 1 month where she talks about how the rest of her next couple of years is focusing on scripted work, both on stage and on screen. So I don't know where she's going to find 6 weeks, because it's not just 3 weeks. They film it over 3 weeks. It is a 6-week filming commitment with early shots and getting there, because she's a producer. So she doesn't just show up and read a cue card. She shows up and says what's what. And so, like, I think this is preparing for someone else to host, to prepare us for when, it's all Isis and Brooks hosting around the world.
Yeah. As like a way of saying, like, oh, we heard you that you miss having a drag queen in charge. Congrats. Michelle's too busy.
And I will say, Andrew, your comment there is the one reason I did not think Mandy had it. I thought Mandy's finale look, while lovely, felt finale pedestrian in a world where all of the finales are an endless series of Picassos trying to putting an ear on your dick. That just looked like a beautiful dress.
Especially because Mandy could have crafted the one of the best looks we've ever seen for a finale. This was really good. It's a beautiful dress. There's nothing to sneeze at about it.
Beautiful gown.
But like her unconventional materials look was more remarkable than this. It maybe wasn't quite up to the standard of a finale because it had to be created on the spot, but it was, basically every other thing she's shown has been a bit more of a showstopper, even if it was less glamour.
No matter how piggy it got.
I feel like we've seen this. This reminds me of like a very beautiful like red carpet look, but I think I want the exaggeration of her drag.
Yeah,
exactly.
Exactly.
Very gorgeous gown, but I do think, like you're saying, especially like looking back to like the outfit that she created that Isis literally gave her a standing ovation for.
Right.
Was like, I wouldn't say leaps and bounds, but felt way more special in terms of the dress, in terms of what it represented, that I think a very beautiful gown feels like we expect more from Mandy.
This looks like something that Reba would come out and thank Tony Hammond for mixing the sound properly in. So it just doesn't
Tony Hammond, ladies and gentlemen.
Tony Hammond, ladies and gentlemen. So I think the thing that Mandy had that Vibe did not give me comes back and slaughters a versus the world energy. Vibe gave me, oh no, I got my paycheck. I'm good. Thank you. Like Vibe got what she needed and she's ready to go live the most successful motherfucking life in the entire universe. And she no longer needs this show. But there was something about Mandy's beautiful ferocity that I can't imagine that Mandy will feel done till she gets a crown in a cool way, not in like a sad, bitter way, in like a no, I know what I can do now and I'm ready to step into it.
I had the exact opposite feeling. I was like, Vibe feels like she's ready to go on an All-Stars or a Versus the World, and Mandy feels like she's an Alyssa, like she's just gonna go work and like
and
go
win
to
global by default.
Well, and good lord, yeah, I forget that now. I have to come up with somebody else because of Alyssa winning global. No, like she'll do DragCon and display like literally the best outfits anybody has ever seen brought to DragCon. Like I figured she would be the one that did the career work and wasn't so worried about doing Drag Race. But Vibe, having gotten a whole season worth of comfortable with the show, where I feel like her real stumbling block was that she was uncomfortable with the format and didn't quite have her strength mustered to do everything you have to do for Drag Race. She could come back and be like, this is all old hat to me. I'm just ready to be here and be funnier and be chiller and like have kind of that Raja O'Hara moment of like not being so terrible when you get to come back, and then everybody just falls in love with you.
I love that, man. Raja.
I love Raja so much right now, but I remember sitting at the Hamburger Mary's in Wisconsin visiting my friends Ramon and Rye, watching an episode and thinking like, this is probably one of the queens I have liked the least in the entire history of the show. I'm so tired of how mean and wrong about what she's being mean about she is. And just like what a 360, no, that's fully around, what a 180 turn she did.
Well, I had a really similar experience with Raja, but one of the things that I was really grateful for was all of my experience with Project Runway teaching me about the Angry Black edit.
Right.
Where reality producers don't know what to do when a person has legitimate emotional complications in a situation. And if they happen to be a Black person who happens to have effeminate qualities, make them seem unreasonable about everything. And that's a really great way to do it really quickly, because then they're sassy. And it's a certain type of character assassination that I just find so unforgivable from reality shows. And
I do think it's a little tough with Raja. And like it even speaks to, I'm agreeing with what you're saying, but it'll sound like I'm not, because a lot of the fights and a lot of the stuff that I didn't like about her were with Evie, who is also an angry Black man.
No, Evie is Evie, we did not mean to say that you are of this plane. When you inhabit the plane,
yes.
you inhabit the body of a beautiful Black man.
That's a different creature.
But you are also an 11-armed alien, and we think that is beautiful in all of your green
true.
and purple.
And God knows the producers do not know how to edit those. So you know
they can't figure out how to edit a woman. So
proof's in the pudding. Yeah. There you go.
Yeah.
What a good time.
I think this was a really. I think probably one of the best. This was, I think, a very great season of Drag Race. I do think season 3 was a better reality season TV show between Floor, between Hollywood Star. Like, I'm going to spoil a little bit for you. I wasn't characters. One of the queens.
Oh no, correct.
They're caricatures though. So
about her age to Rue's face, and then Rue calls her out about it. There's at one point one queen does some bit about pissing, and you just hear RuPaul go, "Yeah, go on. How would you piss? Piss." Just her. A queen fades, and then a cancel lip sync. Season 3 has everything. Season 3 is truly the most unhinged, weird, fever dream of a season.
Ooh, I'm so glad I'm on PTO this week. I'll get to watch all of it.
Oh, please. You and I'm so excited about the amount of time I have off this week. Mama, we have got some work ahead of us.
Things to do.
We got some things. We got some, all I'm saying is, if you've ever had your own fantasies about being Rue, you should get ready for the Fantasy Drag League.
But I think this season was really not only well casted, none of the challenges were like horrific. To be fair, I didn't like the way they did Snatch Game, but like that's not that's not the Queen's fault. It's not the Queen's fault that not everybody really did. It wasn't like the best Snatch game, but also humor is regional. I might not always get the oceanic humor of what they might.
Yeah.
And like that's fine. That's part of me being embracing that culture. Is just kind of like being like, okay, maybe there's a difference there. Maybe what I find funny isn't exactly what they find funny, and that's okay. But I also think this season just proves it's okay to give the do the obvious. I think from episode 1, Lazy stood out in a way that made you go, I'm keeping my eye on her. And then by episode 2, you were like, oh, she's probably going to be in real contention for the crown. And a lot of people were enamored by her. And in the middle of the competition, she kind of took a little bit of a dip, and people were like, oh, Lazy peaked early. And the truth of the matter is, no, she did not peak early at all. She never really stumbled. She had a really good run, and it wasn't the most it wasn't domination, but it was still a really like solid winner's run. And I am so excited to see what she can do with the crown, with funding, with branding, with everything that comes with winning a show like that. Honestly, even just making it to the top 3. If you can make it to the top 3, you're decently golden top 4, whatever. You're decently golden. I hope this season gets enough well-received warmth and criticism and everything that they can even do things like increasing the budget. Like, can we get them a bigger stage? Can we get them some better lighting? These queens deserve it. They're putting in that hard work.
A better set for their unfortunate Snatch game. I think you're right. Like, you can really see where it was a couple of folding chairs in front of some AstroTurf.
They had to split it because that sound stage was too small to have all of them on it.
And like part of where I also think, I'm so glad you said humor is regional, because Tori, something I know you can speak to is like, how big are regional theaters in, say, New Mexico versus in, say, California, in West Virginia versus New York? Like, where you see something does kind of change it. And like, I think the tininess of this stage, that is the same size as the T on Mr. Terrific's face in the Superman trailer. Guys, that's not a big stage.
No, it's true. So there are regional theaters that are used as like pre-Broadway tryouts. Like, and sometimes some of them don't get used for a little while, and then they come right back. I want to say it's the Alley down in Georgia that just gave us the Prom, and a couple of others. There are some places where you just go to. Proctor's in Schenectady, New York is where all of the Broadway tours do their tech before they head out. Like,
that's where Taylor Dane did Cats.
Right. And so then you I can't even tell if you're joking anymore, but I'll agree.
I'm seriously, that's where Taylor Dane did Cats. I'm serious.
Great. And so so there are some regional theaters that have a little more like panache, a little more money to them. But there's usually a large regional theater in every general city-ish close area, much like how there's probably larger drag bars versus smaller, not actual drag bars, just happen to have drag on Thursdays places across the country. And I know that Down Under has probably felt like ye old redheaded stepchild of the group, but I'm actually kind of did they bump the prize money this year? Because I have to imagine that not having RuPaul on set is quite the budget line to eliminate.
Makes me wonder if maybe that was the deal.
Does anyone remember if the prize money went up this year?
Let me think so.
I don't do math. I'm that kind of gay, so
I also wonder...
I only do math with time and video editing.
Right, because like I know that like Michelle stepping into that is going to receive like the same makeup person, the same hair person, but you also have to think then that Michelle's hair person, Michelle's makeup person is where? Like if there's not two of their caliber getting paid at that caliber pay, that budget line is probably decreased. So then either is this their way of saying you got a 4th season of Down Under, congratulations, or is it reflected somewhere else?
The budgets for the prize, the cash prize for seasons 2, 3, and 4 were all $50K.
Okay.
I would also want to check the rate of inflation and currency value, because
Word.
no matter what, there is an American company a little bit behind this, and I wonder what American money is doing versus Australian money right now. Which is actually a point I would love to just say about Lazy Susan. That is not the world's greatest dress. That is not even.
Wasn't gonna say it.
But do you know what actually makes it
But
the world's greatest
idea
dress?
is great.
It's very Maria von Trapp. These are my drapes.
It's very not Lazy Susan. And the hair is very not Lazy Susan. And the makeup is very not Lazy Susan. You wanted glamour, you wanted versatility, you wanted her to do what other girls do with their own style in the Lazy Susan way. This is what it looks like when Lazy Susan shows you beauty. The fact that she thought out to save this vision for shocking, this for me is an equally successful identity as the rose petals, where at the end it shows something we didn't expect. Her in a hat. It shows a transformation moment. And that is really why I think Lazy was able to subvert expectations and really clear the hurdle.
I would just like to quickly say how much I love Isis as a winner. I think she was a fantastic judge. If Michelle, if this was a transitionary period, where she was just kind of stepping in until they figured out what they specifically want to do, if they want Down Under to now be hosted by some of the queens, which I even think would benefit the show so much to be able to have people from the area be able to understand the references, understand the jokes, understand the callbacks, understand everything.
They can understand each other's accents.
That too, because sometimes they be saying things and I don't know what they're saying.
Our narwhal?
Our nar.
Nar, nar.
I absolutely adore this queen. I've been, smitten with her since season 3, and seeing her here so blossoming in terms of just being, a host. I would love for them to give it to her to host. I would also love to see her all winners, but I know that if we're getting a Down Under winner first, probably would be Spanky, and there ain't nothing wrong with getting us a little more Spanky in our lives. But some people talk about like underrated winners or underrated queens. I think she's an underrated winner.
I would like to just remind everybody that the best winner to ever come out of Down Under is Spanky. Hey Spanky, what's up? But I do agree also, hey Spanky.
I think if Michelle does stay on, I really like this, having the season's winner there as a judge and mentor for the following season. For one thing, I really like it because not everybody gets great work, and like I think they should have done it as a favor to Jada back in the day when Jada's year was the year people could not perform. I think it's not that long a commitment, especially for if you're not a producer. It is probably about 3 weeks, and so I really hope we'll be seeing Lazy Susan in this role next year. I hope Michelle's doing at least another year. I love Michelle. I would love to see her doing that. If acting and focusing on scripted work ends up being better for her, I root for her, and I'll want that for her. But for me, I would love to see her do another season. I would love to have Lazy Susan in Isis's role, and I would love other franchises to do that. I think season 16 probably would have been the best season of Drag Race ever produced if Sasha Colby had been on the panel every episode. I think season 17 would be fascinating with Nymphia Wind there. And I can think of so many seasons where I would have loved to have seen the winner at the judges panel. Or just, it doesn't have to be the same thing as a judge, but in a mentorship role of some capacity. And so I love that we did this here, and I love that it was Isis. She gave great critique and great commentary and was such a good force. I really could see this working out other places. I'm actually shocked that Canada doesn't do it.
I would love to have seen Bianca judged by Jinx for an entire season.
See, and I'm over here going, gosh, what would Bianca Del Rio have to say about season 7?
Oh,
And then-
okay. Hold on, wait. If you do want to hear a little bit of Bianca's thoughts, you have to find them. Bianca with Alaska and I think Adore did Mystery Science Theater like talkover for two episodes of season 7, the premiere episode and the makeover episode. These were like specials that they produced where they're just commentating and having a good old time.
Ooh.
You know, it's so funny because like we don't really think about it this way, but Tori, when a baseball player is no longer worthy of filling out those beautiful butt cheeks into one of them uniforms, or you're not in the see-through uniforms of the giant wang, sorry about it. What do these gentlemen start doing with their time?
They go down to the minors.
Oh, I thought they start commentating.
Oh yeah, no, yeah, they go and they commentate. They get on Wheaties boxes, whatever. Derek Jeter's terrible at it. Barry Round's pretty decent.
But that's what these girls are doing.
Yes,
they're commentating. Yeah. They're like coming out, and they're like, "I played. I know how it goes. I have a batting average. Come check my bat."
Yeah, it's why everyone picks up a podcast, because they know there's going to be content almost year round. They have the ability to say, "Hey, I went through it, so I get to talk about it." Especially if you got further along. You can say that Matty Morphosis is more about what it's like to talk to straight people. I don't know. I enjoy it, but I don't get it.
They just did a 3-way TGIF crossover between the Pod Meets World, the Boy Meets World podcast with Topanga, Sean, and Eric. Crossed over with the Full House podcast, which is Kimmy and Stephanie.
Yes.
And the Step by Step podcast, which is Dana and Al. So yeah, they did that, and they did their own, thing is the thing too. A lot of these people now, they have the power is in their own hands to do something like that, to do these things together as well.
Yeah. And I definitely think that that's something that we should do. I mean, I need to watch more of Whatcha Packin'. But like, I think that there is possibly a world where Michelle like took over the pit stop for something, or one of those things. I just think that there's so many opportunities that I think WoW. I think it's why WoW used to give out to the UK queens like, you get a show with us for a season, because it can launch you so well. Yeah, they don't want to give them money.
Pay.
I get it.
But then they were like, "No, we're a global brand. That we're a superstar brand. We can have a cash prize."
Silly.
So, I'm gonna bring us to the end of Down Under, which I certainly hope this is not. I think Mandy losing happened in the roast. It's when she said to the Manuka honey joke. Well, I thought it was funny. Don't ever let them know that you care, that they're not laughing yet. You always have time to make them laugh, apologize at critiques, and even then, apologize for letting them down, but not for what you did. The reaction to the roast.
You just made the uphill more steep. Yeah.
Yeah, the reaction to the roast, I think, really hurt her long-term prospects. But I think just as with Freya, as with Vibe, as with Lazy Susan, there wasn't a loser in this group of winners. That only Lazy Susan could be the winner is a cool, unfortunate, but I just would love all 4 of these girls to be best friends forever. Something I was talking about with KEVO earlier. The earlier version of this show, I legitimately never heard from 8 of the people that were on the previous version of this show ever again. And I don't know that there's an Australian tour. I don't know that these girls are going to stay in each other's orbit. But something I do know is that they made a special magic together, and even if they never come together again, and it's the cast of the OC where they all just kind of vaguely send Chris a card to Peter Gallagher's eyebrows.
I think that person's still alive.
Oh, I think that a baby. I'm gay with Marina Baccarin.
Secrets.
Oh, please. I think the funniest thing I've ever read in my entire life is that's as gay as Ben McKenzie's handbag. So I really
I wrote that.
I will miss these girls. I will miss their magic together. This was a great season. Bye.
Yeah. You know, just men doing men shit. It's good stuff.
Do you specifically feel that there was not enough feminine presence in this season?
No, I sorry, I'm referencing my own father from this past weekend. Who I went to a baptism for my nephew. That's why I thought I wouldn't be here this weekend. And I had the baby with me and I was just like babbling at it. And I was like, oh, who's your favorite season 17 queen? Like, oh, you seem like a Lexi Love fan. And my dad was like, stop that. And then I was like, what? And he was like, I guess just men doing men stuff. And I was fascinated. So yeah.
That's the new tagline for Drag Race.
That's the new thing.
Just
Just men doing men stuff. I think there's a lot of I think there was some excellent female illusion going on this year, and I think there was some really great drag. I somehow forgot that pageantry was part of Vibe's package. I did not realize that, and so all of a sudden I was like, wait, where did this all come from? Where's this glamour? Where's this excitement? So, what about you, fellas? What are your final thoughts on the old Down Unders?
Great season,
Oh.
really great cast, and then I hope they get more money because for a bigger budget, for a bigger studio, they deserve it. I really hope. I say this a lot. Down Under just really, I feel like, is held back by season 1's legacy, and it's really unfortunate because there's a lot of really amazing queens from that season, and I feel like it's not exactly fair to have that season's shadow be cast over every other season, and that shouldn't be the show's legacy. The show's legacy should be, Ketamine being a phenomenal winner to 2 to 3, 4 being phenomenal seasons.
What is the shadow cast by season 1?
Lots of controversies. The queens, there's a lot of confrontation of racism, and there was a queen who on the show,
Right. Yes.
recently
Right.
was doing things they should not have been. There's also like weird production issues. Not that I don't adore her. I think she had one of the funniest moments in the TV show, the show ever. But bringing back Art Simone without like any sort of like justification. It's just Art's back, and just Art's back in the competition. Granted, Art Simone was very well known before going into Down Under. She had the legacy, so it makes sense in that regard. But it's also, it was just a little weird that it just, okay, she's just back, and that's it. That's just how it happened.
She is.
She's just back.
She's just back.
And that sort of, not really, but kind of is in a way that phrase encapsulates how I felt about this season. She's just back. She was back and now she's gone. And I kind of feel like, oh, Australia's over already? Oh. That was really only 8 episodes.
Yeah.
Mhm.
It went
Like,
by
that was
quickly.
barely 2 months.
Mhm.
That started at the beginning of November, didn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. This started
was-
just as we were finishing. No, UK was already running. We were at the
It was
tail
right
end of
after
Global.
Halloween, I think.
Yeah.
So that's crazy. That's less than 2 months is how
Mhm.
quickly Australia went.
That's lazy.
That is. That's the
You know,
difference.
and we love so many things about them. We love their talent pool. We love Reese. And I think a big question is, how do we feel about Michelle ultimately? I think she did a good job. I think, we even spoke about the potential for other queens to take up the Brooklyn Heights level of power. So I think this experiment certainly proved that this season fared no worse than any other without Rue, for certain. But, short. So short.
Well, if no one has any final thoughts on Down Under, then I would love
See,
to
short.
another season
So
that
short.
didn't have Rue. And those little interstitials don't count. Shut up. So I want to start with, these were two of the worst fucking songs that Canada has ever given us. Canada is already a country famous for its exquisite pop music. When people make jokes about Canada was 10 years behind everybody else, no, it's that Canada retained a love of warm, bright, major chord pop, where the rest of the North American continent kind of leaned toward like minor key pop and a little bit more a crunchier sound, right? It's not that Canada was dated. It's that Canada stayed warm sounding with a higher treble and a lower bass. And that's sort of where like Carly Rae Jepsen was able to make like a 90s resurgence. And it's a lot of where things like the producers that would go on to help define the Ariana Grande 90s sound would come from. And so the Leland song in Down Under was legitimately structurally identical to two songs from Moulin Rouge, in a way that didn't bother me, but like I could hear that these were Leland's. That was a Leland leftover. No offense. These two songs were not cool, and that one of them literally used bump, 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 bump from Wannabe, but then switched it out for like, if you've ever played Heart and Soul on piano, you can either do it up the sixth or down the second, right? You know what I'm saying. This did down the second instead of up the fucking sixth. And so like, this was literally musically Wannabe with other things put in, of course, but the bump, 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 bump was meant to make us think of something. These were not songs that were willing to do the work to lift, that I thought no girl did well this week. For me, as a guy who, I'll put on 55 fucking songs that I've written, I'm happy to put them on, and you can say you don't like them as well. I'm not here to say that I don't like somebody's work and I'm not willing to do the work as well. I also write songs. Not and duh we're setting these girls up for failure in a way that, look at the detail on these fonts, on Judges. Look at the detail they put into this episode. These songs were not good. Duh.
This episode was so bizarre because I imagine that they knew they were doing a 90s themed episode, so they had the girls like not organically sprinkle in 90s slang terms, and it just felt weird.
Not organically wear 90s outfits in like the workroom.
It felt like we were just like, okay, everybody, we're doing 90s, and we're not going to mention we're doing 90s really. We're all just going to know it. And like, it was almost to a level dystopian that they're just pretending they're in the 90s right now. And we all just go along with it. We're all, you know, it was very weird. I will say I loved what the editors did for like the transition, like the little like details like those were really made this like all like the fonts, everything was just made it so cool. Like everybody's names had this background for when they were doing confessional and you see their name pop up.
It was like totally awesome.
Totally tubular. This sent me in orbit. I thought this was so funny.
I literally just went, it's like, it's the thing.
Helena gave them something so perfect to have everybody do for the beginning of the episode, and they didn't do that.
I just want to say real quick, Simone Denny, I'm so sorry I did not recognize you as Love Inc. What a fucking moron I am, because Love Inc. is like...
She was amazing.
Love Inc. is defining of the genre of early EDM from the North American continent, because obviously Europe and Asia... Obviously.
Do you know what moment there's so many moments from this Wicked press tour that I appreciate, but there's a moment I am forever going to identify with where after getting through that entire interview, Ariana and Cynthia discover the woman who was interviewing them played Gary Coleman in Avenue Q and are like, oh my God, we love you. Please don't go. Please don't go.
I literally almost shouted, and sucks like a Hoover earlier when someone said it sucks.
Says to them, I've been me this entire time and you didn't know. That's how I'm going to feel anytime I have a Love Inc. moment like this or anything where I'm like, oh, I didn't realize that the person who created that 70s show, also wrote Tommy Boy and Wayne's World. That makes so much sense. Like, we all have those moments. And Cynthia and Ariana manifested that for us. They held that.
They
space.
did. Yeah.
But I do ultimately agree. Canada is so bizarre because I really don't like a lot of their girl group songs or their challenges. Sometimes you'll get like decent performances. I think this week we've had a couple of standouts. Like I think the top 3 was kind of correct. I maybe had some issues with someone in the bottom, and we'll get to that because I would like to hear more opinions before I keep rambling. But I don't know what it is about Canada that they can't really seem to get the music right for their casts. Nobody, and again, a lot of the musical from the musical production side, none of the girls' faults. No, literally, they didn't have a hand in it. They were given the song. I think they all tried to do the best that they could with it, but it was a no from me, dog.
I just want to add to that. One of the things that and TK, this is specifically setting you up. And Jonah, I'm not calling you out. I'm literally talking about a cultural identity that is not represented by media. I am literally saying you are the voice of an entire group of people who don't know a group of people exist. Jonah indicated that he was kind of surprised that from Oh My God's exterior that they grew up a club kid. And I'm like, nope, that is literally every single mother fucking club kid. And the ones that are like Aquaria and Violet that are like, no, it's all about the art. I'm like, no, it wasn't, because you would have had an accounting job that you had to go to 5 days a week to afford the fucking art. So you would have never, ever, being one of those people, had the luxury of saying, I live for my art. And if you don't, you're less. That would have never, ever happened in 1992 because no one could. They were all too busy dying of AIDS and crack.
Well, and Umagod's younger than we are, so 1992 is not her realm. But
yes. No, 2007, the post EDM resurgence.
Yeah.
When Tiesto suddenly became a household name.
Yeah, and a lot of it coming out of Daft Punk and the Alive tour.
Let's just take that tour and let's put it through AI.
I know, I don't want to talk about it. Yeah, I was not surprised. I mean, what's surprising to me is that Oh My God is 37.
Okay, barely younger than me. Eat your hat.
Only.
Get Brad off the screen. I hate this.
No, honestly, that is the sexiest he's ever looked. That is.
I apologize.
You should wear that. You look amazing.
Oh yeah, you would.
Never in my life have I not enjoyed a man with chest hair until this day. I think Brad Goreski's chest hair is such a bummer.
I mean, he's a bummer, but he is still
such a bummer.
I guess if I just.
My only thing with Uma.
How do you do that to his personality, though, Tori? That's
well, it's a still photograph. I don't have to deal with that.
Yeah.
My only thing with Uma is I hate when she does this voice. I don't. It's not...
I keep waiting for more of it. I don't think she does enough branding.
I agree that she doesn't do enough branding. I would like to do a different brand exercise for her. I love the looks and personalities. I really don't like the cheek line. I don't know why nobody has told her to stop doing it. I think it's a very weird.
It's Ariana in the stupid dominatrix mask.
Yeah, kind of. Except it's just like it. I know it's supposed to be shadowing, but it literally just looks like she draws a black line on her cheeks.
Yes, it's sloppy. She's not, but it looks it on camera.
And when she doesn't do it, I think she looks just as cool. And like there's so much about her that I think is cool, but I don't like the Oh My God voice. I think she should do a voice. I just don't think it should be that one, because when she talks as herself, she has a real strength and a real charm. And, we saw that, man, this was a really interesting episode for like shifting and reaffirming how I feel about certain characters. Michaela did not fare well this week. Except the thing about Canada is even when they're getting really nasty with each other, even when Melinda Verga is about to set a bomb off in the back room, everybody
gratitude. with
20 minutes
gratitude.
later, everybody is just like,
Oh!
yeah, that's now we're all fine. Like,
and to be clear, Venus and Melinda are like literally like I don't know how Ryan Murphy hasn't made an entire show about those two fucking women.
yeah.
I could
He
mortgage my
doesn't
car.
consume queer art. That's why.
a fair point, Kevo. That is actually the correct
Yeah,
answer.
He makes it. I'm not going to
and a
make
stick-
fun of that.
And a
I went
sick
to
burn.
I went to bed last night, and as I was lying back, I was like, "Wow, Michaela's really hard to love." And
I mean,
that's
I
sort
have
of where
loved
I
her
sit.
up until this moment, but I'm also realizing when I reflect on it, she does that a lot. She gets very confrontational in moments that aren't meant to be putting her down. And like, don't get me wrong, if somebody is hurting you, coming for you, speak up, but they were talking about math.
It was Jonathan Groff calling Madonna a bitch for answering her cell phone when he himself is obviously a rude human who would answer his cell phone in the front row of a Broadway show. Calm your
Those
shit
are-
down,
those
Liz
are-
reader.
Those are
could be Disney
Neo
code.
and Agent Vincent Hugo of being terrible. They can just cancel each other out. I hate them both. They can be mean to each other for life. That's fine with me.
Can we talk about Uma's superpower of saying the most mildly inoffensive things?
Yeah,
that set
exactly.
People off the fucking wall. And we're
Exactly.
also going to get it next week as well because it was a little bit in the bumper.
Yeah.
For another fight with Xana.
Yeah.
And, like it's so, I don't know, funny that like she says like the most milquetoast, like there's just my opinion that like maybe like could upset someone, and they just for some reason just sets them off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she
Doesn't even
handles it
have
with
a-
grace.
Yeah, she doesn't even have a tone. She's not even raising her voice.
Yeah.
She's just
No,
like,
she-
well, you know. And everyone's like, 1,000, a
Yeah.
million, all the way over the top.
Um,
And I don't know, man.
I adore Michaela. I really, really do. I think she's a phenomenal performer. I adore her mother, and like that's not always a full bearing, but I'm someone of if you have a family connection or a different queen who I adore gives you a cosign and like signs off on you, I am like 20 times more likely to fall in love with you faster. But she has this beautiful confidence that I am envious of. She's 21 and she has this level of confidence that I wish I could have every day in my life. But it sometimes when it comes off the stage, it's still there and it's a little, I think it can come across as grating or and there can cause some friction with some other people when your confidence is at that high and you're like, no, I slayed this, I nailed this, why would you ever think I'm in the bottom? Have that internal confidence, but I think sometimes saying it out loud, it can cause strife.
I'm gonna say something. Oh, I want to add to that. I'm gonna say something really honest. I'm that confident. I probably actually am. But you know what's taught me to not be that confident? People telling me that much confidence is unlikable. I really, really have this clear memory of and the basic version of this story. It's not quite this, but growing up, I had a very good friend who was my best man at my wedding, and to this day, you know, one of the most influential people on me in the world. He taught me to be a podcaster. That's why we have this show. And one time, essentially, Chris was in his dorm room and somebody was like, I'd love to meet your friend Nico. And he was like, no, you wouldn't. And when they were like, why not? He replied with, well, because Lorelai Gilmore and Veronica Mars aren't pleasant in person. When you actually meet somebody who has a fucking zinger for everything you say, it is so annoying. And when you meet somebody who says, I'll hit every note. You want to hit the note? I'll hit the, like, I literally made a comment the other day about how, do you want me to sing Elphaba? I can literally comfortably hit every note Elphaba hits. Not a problem. I have trouble with Galinda, but I can drop an octave here and there, and it's fine. And the person I said that to was like, wow, you seem pleasant. And I was like, I'm sorry that I'm talented. And then I thought about it, and if I heard somebody say that on Drag Race, I would be like, no, bitch loses. And
when you meet Lorelai Gilmore in person, you understand why Emily and Luke are so tired.
Yeah. And like just Polar Nights for the record, no, it's that I have and have always had white facial hair at the root that gets darker when it grows out. It's the strangest thing. So I've just shaved down to all of my white and blonde facial hair because I have a lot of white and blonde facial hair for no reason.
Nico, that's so funny. I have the exact opposite.
That's
My dark-
really funny.
My dark facial hair grows out and gets blonde and white.
Oh, I've legitimately got I have blonde facial hair. I have like when I shave, it's usually like 6 colors in the sink. It's red, white, black, brown,
Same thing.
gray. Yeah,
Same thing, but all of my roots are black.
I have copper in my beard.
Yeah,
And
that's
a
like
little redhead, little Italian redhead.
you know, one of the things that I'm kind of glad that came up playfully, but like one of the things that I think is really interesting is like I will miss Jaylene. This is tough. I feel like we lost. I feel like we lost an elder.
Yeah.
One of the things that's hard for me is when I think about like the men that have shaped me in this world. Like when I think about like the people who have made me better. I very much, I guess, identify as, you know, Yuna. I'm like I'm being really like. I'm not trying to be too honest here, but like, and I might cry a little bit, but like, I really identify as Yuna. And when I think about my hot older boyfriend, he is Auron. He is exactly that person. And I think about TK, you're probably a little bit more Titus because like, you want me to laugh. You want me to feel joy and be light and not so dramatic and heavy.
And my dad is garbage.
Oh God, yes, but you would look really good in his jewelry. And I think about Jaylene, and I think about how she literally is the human embodiment of Lulu. I think about how she is this strong, fearless, sexy, charismatic, dark magic, but carries around a little plushie to use her dark magic person whose life is taking care of her island. Literally. Lulu doesn't want to be a guardian of a summoner because it's all Final Fantasy X.
Oh, okay.
I'm so sorry, Tori. I got there a moment late.
Yeah, we're talking about a completely different season of Drag Race.
I was like, is this Animal Crossing? Where am I?
She's a girl who loves her island. It's Moana.
Yeah.
So, literally, Lulu doesn't want to be a guardian because she doesn't want to leave her island. She doesn't want to leave Besaid and stop protecting this little village that she is so far beyond. When I think about Jaylene, I think about this beautiful spirit, this legend in a world of real people who behaves as a legend. And I think about New Thing Now by Sean Colvin off of the alt country album that made everybody gay, A Few Small Repairs. And I think about the fact that she says a legend isn't a legend until it ends. And I think if she had managed to win, she would never be celebrated better than for going home. But
Yeah.
I just want to see this woman never leave the public eye.
Yeah, I completely agree with that. She was not a strong candidate for winning Drag Race. But she was one of the strongest candidates for being a seen presence in drag who should be on TV. I mean, every single Tears conversation putting on makeup this season has actually, to me, I hate those so much. They make me cringe so much. I want to implode. In almost every season of Drag Race, everyone this season of Canada, I've been like, I'm learning something. These all weirdly, even the ones like, I really don't like when they talk about sexual assault because I worry so much about what can happen to those conversations and how they get used. It all goes back to Blair St. Clair, like that. I just will never forgive Drag Race for how it dealt with that moment.
I've used my sexual assault as a punchline for years. It was at a mall, and so I've joked that I saw the harder side of Sears for a really long time. And that's my joke to make.
Yeah.
But the fact is, the producers would take that joke and make it something that I would either have to put on a t-shirt.
Yep.
Or
God, the graphic they would
or
make.
you would have to live on the stage because now is the time we're doing you have to be vulnerable and your story producer is telling you this is your thing.
Yep.
And but this season everybody's vulnerable moments have been really educational to me, and like I've actually been completely focused. You know, I watch the show playing video games and stuff like that, and whenever they get to talking, the game goes down and I actually listen because it's just portrayed so well. But the other thing is they're all hosted by Jaylene. And that is, I'm of course joking when I say that, but having a steward and an elder to be a rock during those moments makes them feel less cringy to me, because it's not these poor kids that don't necessarily have it all in hand just being thrown to the wolves for pathos on television. There is this motherly figure there to be a rock, and to also say, like, hey, whatever you're feeling, like, there's an other side to it, and I'm, in almost all these cases, she's the other side, and it turns out great. All of these things are like so amazing and so important for Drag Race, but they are not part of the winner's journey. I wish they would be. I wish the show were produced really differently with a different ethos, but I'm not naive. That doesn't happen. And so it was immediately clear to me that Jaylene, in my wildest, most ideal hopes for the show, the producers, the hosts, the season, they would put Jaylene in the top 4, maybe top 3. But I did not see her winning. And, honestly, there are things. This look was not quite for me, right for the challenge. Her dance is not quite there.
Yeah, Nikki Steves over here was not the cutest 8th grader I've ever seen at the golf prom.
And it's just a little bit like, come on, girl, you were there. Like, I know you know.
Old.
Yeah, old. I mean, I'm old.
Head.
I was there. I could have done it. So I was bummed. I love her so much. I would have loved to have kept her energy the entire time, because she always brought it. But we can't ignore the fact that it wasn't always perfect. And at a certain point, you get to a point where you're getting critiqued, and you got to go.
Yeah, I think you hit on a really great point. Like, we saw Lavoie had a lot of these conversations over on UK this year.
Yes,
he came very close to winning. Jaylene is doing this here. First off, stunning, amazing, wonderful, heart of the show. I very much knew that she was not going to get the Golden Beaver the moment that Michaela was like, I just want to say real quick. And I was like, this was an understood among the group of, if she lands in the bottom another time, we can't just keep saving her. It will become apparent and people will become upset. And I think it was handled the best it possibly could be handled, with everyone kind of being like, yeah, this is what it has to be, unfortunately. I think it's a shame that it was Xana. I know how close that they had gotten. Yeah. I also think this might be why Xana's gonna snap soon, because I think that this was a very emotional for her, and I think with Mom gone, that's the last of that.
I also think Xana is just a human garbage pail kid with really good makeup, and so I think she is a mean. I would not. I don't want to hang with her. I don't want to hang with her. I don't enjoy her. But, however, I do think it is possible she is getting very similar edit or vibe to that Raja thing that TK was talking about before, where she is just generally kind of a full of opinions lady who does not care how she comes across, but goes, isn't she the one who's like, if you came to my bar, you'd get $250?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Isn't she the one? She stood there and she was like, what was I going to do? Let Jaylene flop around without any help?
I know
That's
a lot
not
of
me.
abusive people
like,
who pay real big
that was Helena Poison, Tori.
Okay, that was Helena Poison.
Which actually, and then I have thoughts about Helena later, but keep going.
But I really do know a lot of people who pay real big so they get to be super abusive and nobody comes for how big they pay.
No, 100%. One's my dad, but
so nice to me. I love your dad. I'm so sorry.
Okay, but then look at what you just, and I know
that's
you're
why I'm calling myself out. I'm calling myself
exactly.
out.
You just turned exactly. So, but I'm with you on Xana is the thing. I also really get an ick vibe from Xana. I see where she does a lot of good, and I also was one of the first ones to highlight and praise that moment between her and Jaylene. I thought that was great. But I also think there's a darkness there, and there is a bad seat on this earth vibe that I have concerns about. And I also see a snap coming, and I don't know if it's something that we are going to be sympathetic of, or if it is going to come across as the word is now, brat. So time will tell on how she is shape out.
I think Xana is so fascinating because I do not know her in person. I do not know her off the show, and I'm sure she's very lovely. From how it comes across, it feels like she's trying to play the bitch/villain for TV, especially when you hear about a lot of the charities, humanitarian things that she does. She's a very like generous and charitable queen in like how she stands up for people and how she stands up for what's right and how she supports girls. You know, we talked about last week how she raised $5,000 to help get Sanjina breast surgery. Like, it's incredible what she does, but I think she came into this idea of the show and she's like, well, I want to be a bitch. I want to be the bitch. I want to be a villain. I'm going to stir shit up. And it's also unfortunate because in terms of drag race challenges, she's not backing it up. So the bite isn't, there's no force to the bite. She's barking, she's biting, but there's nothing to it. She hasn't been able to back it up just yet. And it's really interesting. I will say she said the funniest thing this week, in my opinion, being that Michaela should give me the beaver. Yes, I've been campaigning and saying that I would never give her the beaver, but she should still give it to me. Like, it was very funny. To be like, would I give it to her? Absolutely not. Have I said I would give it to her? Absolutely. Should she still give it to me? Yes.
Yeah.
That level was for a TV moment. I think was spectacular. But I understand that how she's coming across from the TV show's perspective can be rubbing people the wrong way. You know, I think we've had people before kind of I do think, even though this was filmed before season 16, Plain Jane kind of reinvigorated the idea of that you can be a villain. But in terms of Drag Race, Plain had the bite to back it up. Plain was great in so many different challenges. She knew what she was doing.
Just don't see her live. I'm kidding.
She sent her flowers. She sent her flowers, but they made up. But I think if Xana had been smashing the competition more, I feel like it would feel different. It's just interesting when the villain isn't as a competitive threat in this moment. But I want to segue this into talking about Helena, my queen, who is disserviced this episode. They did not treat her well. They did not treat her right. No. Justice for Helena. I mean, she didn't go home. She got the beaver, which we're thankful for. I think she had a much better episode than they were giving her credit for.
I feel completely agree. Very differently, so this is interesting.
No, well, it's so funny. I agree with Jonah, but I have not liked Helena until this episode. Like, really, she bothered me. While I felt like a lot of her looks were well executed, the aesthetic really annoyed me, and the fact that it was always very Hot Topic, Mall Goth, Beetlejuice span, and that there was no attempt, to my eyes, presented on like in her looks on the show, to go deeper into the references that all of the things that she was referencing were sourcing from. You know, we're now like generations back.
It was about as on the pulse of EDM as a Club Mix USA sampler from the Entertainment Weekly in 1995.
Yeah, you know, at this point, I expect girls to be doing like spooky Victorian drag, because if you're going to do this, then you're doing goth, which is referencing that. So you got to go all the way back to really impress me. And so just doing like, I love the Black Parade, I just didn't really get it.
Congratulations.
I wish I had been more...
But for me, like, here's the thing is that when they were doing like 80s nights in the early seasons, like that's the same kind of time gap for these people.
But I feel like I dinged those girls equally for shopping.
Yeah, exactly. I didn't love that either. Like it's not that you can't ever do it. And it's not that you can't even do a lot of it. It's just at a certain point I want you to show me that you know more than just the one thing. And like, especially if you're really into the one thing, I want to see that you know the other references that are around it. And she just hadn't done that for me. But she had her energy this episode, her thought process. I thought her verse was really good. And I thought that I didn't love this look. I didn't think this was a winning look, but I didn't think this was an absolute loser of a look. And again, like I had so much respect for the fact that she said, like, yeah, I just wasn't gonna let Jaylene flop. I just have so much respect for that. That was really cool, and I think the correct thing to do. And she handled it with grace. You know, I was waiting for her to maybe be like, well, yeah, I'm screwed because I tried to help you. And she just did not have that attitude.
It was extraordinary.
Yeah, she just didn't have that attitude at all. There's so much that I like about her. I'm really hoping, because now I really like her personality, and I'm really hoping that I can start to like the looks a little bit more as well.
I thought that the verse was actually really creative writing. I thought it was like it needed the level of, you put so many things in here that it's not good for me was a little intense.
But the problem is Perla's was worse in that regard. So.
Well, I thought that Uma, Perla, and Helena gave identical performances this episode.
Yeah, and all of them deserved the critique of like wasn't perfect.
All of them just deserved, like, you guys are doing a costume, not fashion in your performance. But I felt they gave fashion, not costume on the runway. Whereas I felt like everybody but Michaela literally gave a costume.
Yeah.
Michaela literally gave something that I specifically remember people wearing.
Yeah.
Everybody else gave a costume.
Perla also, her performance and like her getting the spooky lines at the end made up for the fact that there were so many references that, you know, Brooke gave the perfect critique, which is that I had no idea what you were talking about when we started. And then I got it, but that's not, you don't want to start with something that nobody gets where you're coming from. But she ended really strong. The performance was fantastic. She's so gorgeous. She's still I want her to win. I don't necessarily think she will.
No,
but
Pearl stole my briefs. That was like fucking. She looked unreal this episode.
Yeah, she's really gorgeous. She's very cool. I'm very, very into her. But you know, Helena really just shot up in my estimation. I think. But the one thing I will say to everybody is like, grunge was more than plaid and flannels. And come on. And this is again why I'm going a little hard on Helena, because again, this is a thing that references the things that you claim are your entire thing,
or your identity.
Yeah, so like give me a little bit more. Like Courtney Love was not a flannels girl. Courtney Love wore like slips.
And like people are always like, oh, you know, when I think of whole, I think of you know, stuff like doll parts.
Yeah,
but like I think about like Northern Star, you know, the 6-minute song about the birth of Jesus under an apocalyptic dark star that is the centerpiece of Celebrity Skin, their best-selling and best-reviewed record. So like the understanding of 90s is so surface at times, it literally deforms the reference.
Yeah.
Unless you're like me, who lived through them but didn't pay attention to music or celebrities at the time, and you just had like cartoons and merch. So for me, they were like grunge, and my brain goes, oh yeah, flannel and ripped jeans, cool.
But isn't that the deeper we ask for from artists? Like if somebody were to do
yes. But for me, watching this, I was like, yeah, sure, this is all kind of 90s. Yeah, sure. Kind of thing. I don't know. Jonah, you're one of these youths. How did you feel about the grunginess of all of this?
Actual baby over here.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
A baby who can't talk yet.
Muted.
Mm-hmm.
And here I was being so facetious about how I'm so young and I'm the
Beautiful.
youngest and the
And yet you can't figure out this newfangled technology.
Nope. Well, my baby, I can't talk. I haven't learned my words yet. So I was born in '97, so a lot of I grew up with leftover 90s culture, things that persist a little bit in the early aughts. I got like certain shows on like Nickelodeon or Disney or Cartoon Network that were popular enough to get reruns, and like I remember watching reruns of Legends of the Hidden Temple. I was never going to get what I wanted because I'm watching reruns and it's like, oh, maybe I wanted to do that, but nope. Too young for that, or too late.
You had to
So-
figure it out.
Oh, I love
Yeah,
figuring
Summer
out.
Sanders.
Love Summer Sanders.
Danny
welcome.
Tamborelli.
But also,
Um,
like Jonah, because my parents kept me under a rock, when KEVO talks about TGI Friday and includes Step by Step, I have no idea what that show is.
which
Wow.
love that.
Yeah, sorry.
sorry, not sorry. I booed it. But this, I don't know where. I can grunge be glamour? I want to say yes, but it feels like I was maybe slightly.
Again, Courtney
left
Love.
there.
Courtney Love is the
Yes.
blueprint. Grunge can absolutely be glamour. That was her entire thing.
She was glamour and grunge in De La Renta. Like,
And you know, she just has this incredible speech during a press tour where she talks about how like, you know, despite being who she is, women want to wear cool clothes. Like, that's fashion is in our DNA, is what she says. And we don't want to be critiqued by male rock critics for wanting to wear designer gowns. Like, that's what we want to do. Courtney Love is but there were so many. I mean, like Tori Amos back then, there were so many women who were of the alternative rock scene that were insanely fashion expansive, and there was grunge and there was glamour, and it is so weird that even the older queens went Vivienne Westwood, which
I was
is
going to
just-
say Vivienne Westwood on Gwen Stefani. Thank you.
which
Oh,
is just
Vivienne
such a-
Westwood inspired.
Exactly. It's all inspired, but it's
Inspired.
such a simplistic reference. It's the most obvious one. And it shouldn't really be, you know, I even like the idea of Vivienne Westwood as punk kind of even kills me. Like it's I don't even really know what to do with it, but it's definitely to me not grunge. And I mean, Gwen Stefani was also not grunge. Gwen Stefani was in a ska band. Like so much of Westwood stuff, so much of Vivienne Westwood stuff to me is like, as somebody who was fully ensconced in the third wave of ska, I'm like, this is all ska stuff. This has nothing to do with the other like ethoses and genres that people attach it to. They all look like, to me, like they are going to join the Two-Tone Army, and I think it's so weird.
I think for me, part of the issue is it speaks to the overall level of seriousness with which we are supposed to take any of this judging. When they come over the girls for not making the right face while they're making the fart sound during the acting challenge, it's a little tough to take that seriously. When I had to sit through the Doctor Who challenge and hear them go, "Ooh, that was good." The fuck most of them were. They were goddamn horrendous. The Star Trek challenge was nonsense, but you want to talk about how, like, who did well, when actually no, you're not speaking to what the challenge is meant to be addressing. And so I think exactly, you guys, especially being people who care about that culture and being aware of there is a nuance to it. And so for us to have to sit and listen to them go, this is great, with Brad Koreski's nipple out, like,
thank you. True. Yes.
You wanted to do that, but you're not going to take this as seriously. You don't even need to be like, fail, you suck.
No, just like, I would have told everybody,
like, this is what you got.
Yeah.
Rather than quite grunge.
And it's something like, for all that I shit on everything she does and think she is a dangerous psychopath, Rue will often it's like say to girls, like, you need to go further, like you need to give me more when you are referencing fashion. And I feel like she would have done that here. I do want to shout out the first girls, Virgo Queen, Perla, and Xana, because those are fantastic grunge and glamour looks.
I literally think Xana looks
amazing.
I genuinely completely disagree. I think
my
she
gosh.
literally, to me,
Yeah.
Xana looks like something I would get at Party City, having just gone shopping at Party City 2 months ago for Joker outfits.
Careful, there's no
over.
more Party City
I was
after
gonna say,
this.
yeah.
I know, but like I genuinely thought that this was so surface read. It was like, and the fact that the purple is in it doesn't make it fashion. It actually means that you're not paying attention to the context of the color story, and the fact that it's referencing a specific episode, but then going so much further in a way that doesn't actually reference Buffy or 90s fashion. This is 85, 87. This is maybe Billy Idol hard rock 80s. And then beyond that, the style of crucifix is Judas Priest. We're looking at 84 now. Let's talk about the jacket that looks Quiet Riot. This does not look 90s. This does not look grunge. This looks like edgy punk girl at Hot Topic, which is 20 years of fabulous. And she looks beautiful, but she does not get an A for the challenge.
I don't think she gets an A for the challenge. I do think she was giving me more Christy Swanson Buffy, so I was annoyed that she referenced Sarah Michelle Gellar Buffy.
Well, because I think it's obviously meant to be Prophecy Girl. Down to the jacket isn't in the sleeves.
But it is more.
It is more. I mean, yeah.
It's the hair.
Christy Swanson also
vibe.
wears this look. I
on
wish
the
the purple was
motorcycle.
red. I wish the purple was blood. It's definitely not an A, but it is a reference to glamour and to grunge. Yes. Is it a perfect reference? No, but it is a reference to grunge, and it is not plaid. Also,
Do you really think that the leather and spikes are grunge?
I think
they're
if
hair
you're-
metal.
I think if you're referencing Christy Swanson Buffy, it's getting the jacket from your boyfriend who is kind of grunge by way of having been old enough to come out of punk.
I think he came out of hair metal. I think he came out of being a Poison fan.
I mean, I hear that too. I think now we're starting to argue about what Luke Perry's motivation was in.
I'm more arguing about. Yeah, I'm more arguing
Yeah.
that the judges kind of pretend that their references are the actual historical references
Yes,
when they're
100%. 100. That I completely agree with. Uma's look, Jonah, when I was saying like Courtney
Said it
Love
was
is the
good, but
blueprint for grunge and glamour, Uma's look like got closer, like except for then she also had to do the plaid. If she had just given me the green, all of the green, none of the plaid, that's Courtney Love right there.
Verbatim what I said at the time. This is closer, but it's ugly.
Yeah, I just would not have done. And again, I'm like, you should know. You were there. You knew. You got the prompts. You literally, if you couldn't quite remember, if you Google Hole 1994, which I literally just did, and then sent Nico a picture of Hole and George Foreman.
And I had a panic attack about the bassist from Hole because Melissa Aufdermar is like a queen.
Yeah, she truly is. But yeah, I mean, you could look at what Melissa Aufdermar's wearing at the time in those years as well. And, but it would have been so easy to just quick Google search on these women. And like I said, so much of it is like just slips. It's just, velvety, shiny tops. And so, yeah, I mean, Uma, I give her credit for going in what I think was the right direction. It just, all of the plaid is not necessary and totally kills it.
As a resident I guess female body haver on this panel. Yeah. I will say slips are very unforgiving in general.
100%. I'm not
so like
100%.
This is a conversation that Nico and I had a conversation that's going to lead to many things in the future for this. But the conversation of what's the difference between a design capability and a construction capability.
Yes.
And I very firmly believe that unless they start saying otherwise, RuPaul and the judges on this show base what you walk down on the runway on as if you have either made it yourself or have been very involved in the design process. There is not a world in which RuPaul or any of the judges say to themselves, you said I need to be grunge and glamorous at a designer, and then just whatever they showed up with, you just took and slapped on yourself and went, yeah, that works. Like, I think...
There's like an integrity button. Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, there's like an integrity button. There's a thing of a drag queen should be able to embody what they're doing. And I think this is one of and I think that this is one of those where I think the gals picked their favorite 90s thing and threw it through a grunge filter with the designer, and the designer came back with something glamorous, and they said, okay, check to my reference, check to grunge, check to glamour, okay, fine. And I think that more of them did that than normally does in a runway.
It just feels like if this had been RuPaul's Drag Race, this would have been like the Night of a Thousand Madonnas challenge.
I could not stop thinking, yes.
Where, you know, somebody would have been actually mad. Like a judge would have been mad because you can't all just show up. And I actually
probably because Courtney Love would actually be on the panel
and they would have lived through it.
Yeah.
I didn't give enough credit to Michaela, who did an incredible, gorgeous, original look. It's really not grunge at all, and I wish somebody they could even let her win. But I mean, like any member, and I think they even referenced TLC. Any member of TLC would have worn this.
Bad Boy. This is Bad Boy Squad. 100%.
Yeah. And it's those things ran parallel to grunge, which is how we got All About the Benjamins Rock remix, my favorite song of all time.
Up there.
But it's
how do you feel about the Sting version of Roxanne with Puff Daddy? Because we can't mention P. Diddy, he's disgusting. But Puff Daddy,
Puff Daddy was fine. Definitely did not get his best friend killed. Sorry.
Can't wait for that to be in the depositions, man.
Yeah,
we all do things.
I have a particularly weird relationship to that whole thing that we'll talk about another time.
Okay.
But yeah, so I don't love this Puff Daddy Sting Roxanne. I also don't. I feel like they should. This even could have been one of those things where they're like, we're grading on a curve because you all did bad, because you all didn't get the assignment. But you have to get your references. And I feel like RuPaul might have been comfortable saying that. Maybe not anymore. She's kind of given up in the last like 6 years, but she would have at one point been comfortable saying that. I wish they would. Michaela looks absolutely stunning. This is an incredible look. She is incredible in every way. This doesn't meet the brief, like maybe at all, except ripped jeans. I can give you ripped jeans.
It's what incredible advancing hip hop black culture was doing during grunge.
Yeah, but I don't. That we start to get into this thing of like, okay, then are we all doing a short essay portion, which I'd be down for. I'll read it. You can.
I'll watch
it.
the video.
We can do an interview. Yeah, exactly. But then if you're not going to justify your concept like that, then you did just not at all do the assignment.
Do you think as people who are deep on this grudge that the Virgo Queen's superiority on the runway in comparison to Michaela's should have placed her in the winning category?
Yes, I did.
Yeah.
I was really confused because I guess I just wasn't paying attention because, again, I'm playing video games when I watch this and I only stop for the touching moment featuring Jaylene. I did not, when they were like, Michaela won, I was like, oh, do they just really think she won because they gave her such effusive critiques? I completely was unaware that they actually had said she was the winner out there, because I was 100% certain it was Virgo. And I will say, maybe Virgo gets an extra bump because she was the first person to come out in plaid. But
she also did it very well.
She did it correctly.
This is a very good piece of runway work
just
right
absolutely
here.
Incredible in so many ways. Yes. And the hair is so perfectly grunge and glamour. Like, this is so many men's hair. This is like Soundgarden. There's so many inspirations for this hair that she has then translated into elevation and high fat. Anyway, I was 100% because I thought her verse was better too.
I would have been shaking seeing Virgo Queen wandering around the workroom in this before we go out on the runway.
100%.
I would have been like, fuck, I'm fucked.
Yeah.
I don't know if it was the edit that it paid so much attention to Michaela at points in the performance where she was not looking on, I guess, to kind of give Uma's comment a little more weight.
Yeah.
But I wasn't as impressed with her performance as I thought I would be. It was very good. It's obviously a Michaela performance. Her medium is other people's excellent.
Yeah.
But I wasn't as impressed with her as I was with Virgo's. I found hers to be a little more, I'm pulling stunts to try to get ahead.
And pulled a stronger vocal. Like, you know, I think excellent rapping is an incredible skill. I think the problem is oftentimes when girls sing, they can learn to rap, but if you struggle with pitch, you can't learn to emulate somebody singing quite the same way. So we often see excellent singers doing very good raps, not excellent raps, where we don't necessarily see excellent rappers get to do very good singing. It's a slightly different function. And so I think Virgo kind of knocked it out. I did think Virgo should have won this episode. Man, do I love those Bantu knots. They're so good.
From a story perspective, it makes more sense for Michaela to win here, because they talked about how well they loved her in the first challenge in her rapping and her performance ability, and how arguably she maybe even would have won the first episode had it been a normal episode. I don't think they wanted to give Virgo Queen 3 wins by episode 5.
Or Weens, either one.
I'm trying to get into my Canadian persona.
The Weens.
Drake.
Oh. I hear what everybody is saying about maybe Virgo having a stronger night, especially maybe on the runway when it comes to
the grunge
runway category. But I think from a story perspective, it makes more sense to give the win to Michaela to make her have that status of she is a competitive threat.
I love that. And that feels like a really great way to kind of bring us to our ending, get a little bit of last thoughts on Canada. I think this season is shaping up to be messy. And I did not think it was messy from the get. I don't know what this Michaela Uma thing is, and I trust Canada to be better than making it weirdly racial. If it's not, if it is, I expect them to explore it. But if it's not, which it doesn't seem to be, I would hope that they don't do the salacious thing of maybe setting it up in an uncomfortable way, the way the US used to. Big fan of these girls, but man, this was not my episode. What did everybody think?
Yeah. What are we talking about? Canada specifically?
Yeah.
I found this episode incredibly interesting. Was not my challenge, and this was my runway. I was seated for this runway, and then didn't love how it was executed. Sometimes I really like that. I like an episode where there's just a lot of stuff happening that I'm emoting to, even if they're not all positive emotions, because a lot of times my emotion is like bored, dissatisfied, bummed, but like I think they all missed the brief, and I find that fascinating, and like talking about it like this was a total blast. I thought some of their verses were so good, and some of them were weirdly like borderline inappropriately bad, and that was really fun to absorb as well. Losing Jaylene, heartbreaker, but having Jaylene in my life and the reflection on that throughout the episode, some of the best times from Drag Race. So all in all, a really beneficial experience this whole episode, really fascinating experience this whole episode was.
Tori, Jonah, hit me.
I know that when we started Canada, I was a little bit like, why is this such a womp womp for me? I was so amped for this. What's going on? And I think we're starting to shape into the Canada that I thought we were getting this season. So I'm very excited to see more of it. I'm also very excited to concentrate on just it for 1 week. So how about you, Jonah?
I think I have a very similar sentiment as other people have. This, by no admission of any of the girls' faults, I think they were a little bit let down by the production of this episode. I mean, the runways are all on them, so I shouldn't give too much grace in that regard. But I do think that they weren't given the best songs, and that's just kind of on par for Canada. But I thought Brooke looked great. Love Brooke.
Love Brooke.
So, Kevo, how do you feel about this episode? I know, we've talked about it a little bit between the Down Under finale and this episode. It was a lot of music when some weeks there's no music. How did you feel about this week?
It was fine. I feel a way, like I said earlier, I feel a way about Down Under being over so abruptly, and now that's gone for a whole year. I just looked at the numbers, and I believe my estimation is that this finale will be around the third week of the new season of main show.
Yeah.
So, like Tori said, we're going to have 1 week of it by itself, and at least it's a strong one with Snatch Game. Hopefully it's a good Snatch Game. So many have been so disappointing lately. So, I don't want drama. We were talking earlier about villains. I don't think that's an energy you need to come into this with and need to be looking to want to be. If you have that inside you, it will come out naturally. Age and wisdom has taught a lot of us that. So, I hope it's good, and only 3 weeks of crossover, so that'll be nice.
Yeah. And until we come back and talk more about that weeks of crossover, which I can't wait for, as well as all the other stuff we're going to talk about in the next couple of weeks as this year winds down. Tori, where can everybody find you on the interwebs?
You can find me online at smtori. That's Tori with an I.
I'm gonna kick it to Jonah, because I'm gonna ask Jonah. Jonah, where can everybody find you, Jonah?
You can find me at Peak Jonah. Woo!
Kevo, where can everybody find you?
You can find me on the socials at KEVO Rayleigh. That's KEVO.
Hey, TK, how about you? Where can we find yourself? Oh, try again for me.
It's TK Elemental. And you, Nico, where can everybody find you?
Nico Action, NICOACTION, Nico Action Music, NICOACTIONMUSIC. You guys can check out this show at X is for Podcast, X is for Show, and HTML. Husbands Talking More or Less. 3 things you guys can do for us. Number 1, comment. Number 2, like. Number 3, subscribe. Man, algorithm, he's a tough guy. But 3 things you guys can do for yourselves. Number 1, please stay safe. It's a spooky, crazy world out there. It's 9 degrees outside where we are. Don't do that. Number 2, you guys can be brave, because even if it's cold, you guys got to go out and get yourselves milk, right? But number 3, you guys got to evolve daily, because who you were yesterday, incredible. Who you are today, we love it. But who you are tomorrow, that's the dream. Until we get to be a part of that dream with you and the milk.
Wait, I'm going to add a number 4 to this holiday season. Make sure to go check out Nico Action's channels, because he's got some amazing holiday hits. I threw some links in the comments, and we are going to have over the outro playing his Underneath the Tree, which you can go check out on all of his channels. So happy holidays, and check out whatever we're going to be doing over the next few weeks to enjoy that and take that in, because we love you all and we want to see you stay safe, be brave, evolve daily. See, I wrapped it back around for you.
Well, and until then, we can't wait to check you guys out, no matter what you're listening to, though hopefully it's our music and our podcast. And until then, we'll see you.